that changes the rest of their lives.
If they've done really well so far and they have a pitch, they're not going to get it.
Jamie's Chef continues Wednesday at 9 on 4.
Next on Channel 4, a unique insight into what really happened during the Waco siege. Starting on E4 now, Abby's back, but Luca is about to face charges in ER. Whilst on More 4, Phil and Kirsty are hunting for a property that's carbon neutral. Meanwhile, on Film 4, Hugh Grant is about to become married to the mob in Mickey Blue Eyes.
Get your skates on because Citroën prices are frozen. The Chic C1 city car from only $5,795. The spacious 5-door C3 from only $6,740. Or the Zara Picasso MPV from just $8,995. And on selected C3 and Zara Picasso models, typical 0% APR with 35% deposit. Cool Citroën deals.
Making glass bottles and jars from recycled ones saves energy. Just one recycled bottle saves enough energy to run a computer for 20 minutes. Recycled, the possibilities are endless.
This Saturday's Lotto rollover is £7 million.
Visit Cartridge World now, with over 280 UK stores and over 1,300 worldwide. Save up to 60%. Call us now or visit your nearest store.
What has this man done to get his passport seized, have day and night curfews imposed on him, be denied access to the phone or internet? What has he done to be placed under partial house arrest and to have had no trial? Dispatches investigates At Home with the Terror Suspects, Monday at 8 on 4.
At 11:05, a look at how the police handled a volatile hostage situation in Day of the Sniper. First on 4, the bloody siege that shook America and pitched government agents against a cult leader. Inside Waco contains some strong language and scenes of violence.
They're on their way. The time has come.
In February 1993, American law enforcement agents mounted a raid on a religious community in Waco, Texas, that went disastrously wrong.
I'm talking to you. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
It would turn into the longest and bloodiest siege in modern American history.
84 people died, 22 of whom had come from Britain, recruited from the streets of London, Manchester and Nottingham.
Everyone was screaming, things flying everywhere in the room.
I actually thought at that time, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna meet me maker, you know.
Now using FBI surveillance footage, secretly recorded tapes, and previously unseen video. This is a unique insight into what really went on inside Waco.
You know who I am. I'm the Christ.
Somebody said, "What should we do?" He says, "I suggest you pray."
Eight miles from the town of Waco, Texas, in the midst of cattle ranches, is all that now remains of what was once the home of the religious community known as the Branch Davidians.
We were here to learn and to study, to enjoy the trees, the sky, all the things that were part of being in Mount Carmel. We were able to think of a better life, more so than if we had been at home and we're just reading the Bible, just going to church.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth passed away, Revelation 21, verse 1. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
A new heaven.
The leader of the Branch Davidians was 33-year-old David Koresh.
And I'm telling you now,
his radical teachings had attracted former Seventh-day Adventists and other Christians from across the world to the Mount Carmel community, which had been in existence since 1934. Of the 130 people that lived there, 30 had come from Britain.
He was telling me things that I've never heard before, and a lot of the questions were being answered that I wanted answered, and I reckon I knew more about the Bible in 7 months I was there than I did in 7 years in the Adventist church.
Before we're led to glory with our Father, there's going to be a battle. Revelation 17:14, they will make war against the Lamb. And who are these people? Who's going to wage this war?
He knew that Bible backwards and forwards. I've read the Bible a lot of times, and I knew a lot of those things myself. But David Koresh knew them like he wrote them.
Now, how do I know this? Because it's written in Scripture. The end time is upon us. But you don't need to be afraid. In fact, we welcome it, right?
Yeah.
David Koresh had led the Branch Davidians, a breakaway sect from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, for 5 years. Whole families had traveled to Mount Carmel to join his community. Natalie Norbrega came from North London with her mother when she was just 10 years old.
I loved it. To me, it was like a holiday camp. That's what it felt like to me. It wasn't a cult, it was a normal place, and they were normal people. I mean, yeah, they did believe in God and were religious, but that wasn't to say that everyone was obsessed with God and, you know, all they did was read the Bible all day, every day, didn't have a life, didn't do anything else. It wasn't like that.
Another Briton was Derek Lovelock. He'd attended Davidian Bible classes in Manchester before joining the community in Texas.
It was a really loving atmosphere, caring atmosphere. I don't think I'd ever met people like that before. Apart from my own family, I've never met people so loving like that.
But Mount Carmel was a religious community with a difference. Alongside a church and Bible studies, there were guns and a firing range.
I didn't see there was a threat. I mean, I was a bit nervous at first, you know, because I'm not used to it coming from England. A few people carrying guns. But I got used to it, I suppose, after a while.
Everyone had guns in America, so even though I'd lived in England and no one had a gun here, because America, everyone has a gun, it was like nothing strange. It was just normal.
Even in Texas, where there are over 50 million guns, the constant sound of automatic gunfire had attracted the attention of the local sheriff in the nearby town of Waco.
The sheriff's office was contacted on several occasions about people living around the compound out there hearing fully automatic weapon fire. In the state of Texas, you can own weapons. You can own as many weapons as you can afford. You cannot own fully automatic weapons unless you have certain credentials to do that. I never understood why a church would have weapons. I don't have them in my church.
Koresh was suspected of illegally converting semi-automatic weapons into automatic machine guns, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute. In June 1992, a major investigation was launched into the activities of David Koresh. 6 months later, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, the ATF, began a covert surveillance operation from a property across the road from Mount Carmel. They infiltrated an undercover agent into the religious group. Robert Rodriguez posed as a possible convert and began by attending Bible studies. After 6 weeks, he was invited by Koresh to bring a gun along to the firing range.
First thing Koresh started doing was breaking apart that AR-15. And he tore that AR-15, took all the parts out, looked at it, put it back together, and man, you could tell he knew his weapons.
Nice mechanism, Robert. Show us what you can do.
Throughout my meetings with Koresh, I was constantly being tested by him. I was sure that he pretty much had suspicion of who we were, but I knew he liked me. He set up some cans about maybe 15 yards away, and he told me, go ahead and shoot. I shot and got a heck of a group.
Got lucky, Robert. Let's see you do that again.
I saw in his face that he did not like to be outshone in front of his people. And this time I said, I better miss.
See, I knew it was luck.
The ATF investigation lasted 7 months and gathered a huge amount of intelligence. In February 1993, it was decided to raid Mount Carmel and arrest David Koresh.
There's a serious amount of firepower in that building. Koresh has got AK-47 rifles, 40 rounds per minute, semi-automatic, but up to 750 rounds if they're automatic. He's got AR-15 semi-automatic rifles, lots of them. He's got at least 150 caliber machine gun and hand grenades.
The undercover investigation had discovered that Koresh had amassed in excess of 150 automatic weapons and explosive devices. He also had 8,000 rounds of ammunition, enough to equip a small army. To counter this, it was decided to mount a military-styled operation.
Now, 7 agents of the New Orleans ATF are to scale the roof of what they call the chapel. 4 of those agents will enter the room on the north side of the roof. That's David Koresh's bedroom. The other 3 will enter the room on the south side of the roof, Koresh's arsenal. Now, in addition to the ground and the roof units all entering the property from all sides, we will have 3 helicopters fly over as a diversion for the ground units to make their dynamic entries. Now, the diversion will happen at 09:57 hours, and that's 3 minutes before you make your entry at 1000 hours.
The ATF operation would be one of the biggest in its history, involving more than 75 of its top agents drafted in from across the United States. The raid was set for Sunday, the 28th of February at 10 a.m. But 24 hours before the raid, the ATF plan suffered a major setback. A local newspaper published an expose on the activities of David Koresh under the headline, "The Sinful Messiah."
There was a lot of hustle, a lot of information being passed back and forth. Stories, the Waco Trib and their Sinful Messiah series. A lot of crap.
The ATF had tried in vain to stop the article being published. They were concerned that it would alert Koresh to their impending raid.
Smells good.
Thank you.
Y'all doing?
Good.
Well, listen up. No one goes into town for a while.
Is there a problem, David?
There's no problem, Kathy. Just want y'all to stay put till I say otherwise. Okay?
The ATF were only hours away from launching a massive raid. Following months of intensive planning, 3 helicopters and over 75 agents were ready for action.
Focus up.
Agent Bill Buford prepared his men.
We felt like there was a good possibility of a confrontation, possibly an armed confrontation, but hopefully it would be held to the minimum with only combatants being involved. We had heard that David Koresh had a group of loyal men there that he called his mighty men, I believe. And we felt like if they were able to get to their weapons, then they would probably attempt to defend the compound or defend David Koresh.
At the last moment, tactical coordinator Chuck Sarabin ordered undercover agent Rodriguez to return to Mount Carmel.
He said, we got to Robert one more time to make sure everything is still okay. And I remember him saying that, make sure everything was still okay. I said, okay, all right, Chuck, okay, one more time. I was so glad it's going to be the last time I ever entered this place because I didn't like it. I felt very uncomfortable in it. Every time I went into the compound, I had a feeling I would not come out.
With only 2 hours until the ATF raid was due to begin, Rodriguez was told he must wait to see Koresh.
I was trying to look at my watch to see what time it was. I didn't know how long I had been there. Trying to be real cool and relaxed, you know, keep my demeanor, don't show any fear.
While Rodriguez waited, a news cameraman who had been tipped off about the raid was also on his way to Mount Carmel. Lost, he stopped a postman for directions. The postman turned out to be David Koresh's brother-in-law. He contacted Koresh immediately to alert him.
What's wrong, David? Stop playing games, Robert! We know who you are, buddy!
I don't know what you mean, David. What do you mean?
Don't play games anymore, Robert! We know who you are! The ATF and the National Guard are coming, Robert. The time has come.
I really felt that this was it for me. I'm saying to myself, they're going to shoot me, man. I know they're going to shoot me.
Take care, Robert.
There was now only 50 minutes to go until the raid.
I knew it wasn't time for the raid yet. I called Chuck. I told him, first thing I told him was, they know, Chuck, they know we're coming. They know we're coming.
What? What do you think?
Well, did you see any weapons? Were they arming? Well, that's all right. We still got time. You just get yourself right back here.
That right there should have been a big stop sign for him. He should have realized that.
Okay, listen up, gentlemen. They know we're coming, so it's showtime. It's time to get a move on, okay? Come on, get moving. Hudson, come on, move out.
Chuck! Chuck! What do you mean they know we're coming?
Bill.
It's okay, Bill. They're in the chapel. It's not area. okay. This changes everything. We need the element of surprise. Bill, they're in the chapel area. They're nowhere near the guns, okay? Chuck, what if they're ready and waiting for us? We're going. Okay, come on.
Chuck Sarabin came into the staging area. He said, everybody saddle up, we've got to go quick. They know we're coming. We needed more information than that because if they knew we were coming, our plan would fall apart.
What are you waiting for? Move it! Hustle up! Right according to the game plan, gentlemen.
They're on their way. Just don't do anything dumb. Wait for my instructions.
I saw men prepared to defend me, prepared to defend David, everyone there. They ran to posts, stations. They were preparing for battle.
The whole ATF plan depended on the element of surprise. Now the Davidians knew they were coming.
See you on the green.
At O2, we don't just give our customers the same, we give them more. Get the same phones and tariffs as new customers, plus a little something extra with O2 treats. Loyalty rewarded. It's your O2. See what you can do.
We have 25% off all real wood and laminate flooring. It's pleasing on the eye, solid underfoot, and ever so gentle on the pocket. Home Base. Make a house a home.
This is the story of our biggest mission yet. To keep cutting prices on our leading products. And only when we cut an amazing 3,000 prices were we ready to unveil our best ever catalogue filled with some of our lowest ever prices. And the moral of the story is, for our best ever value, get your new catalogue now. Don't shop for it, Argus it.
More is a thank you. More is your own personal customer manager who's there to help. More is going the extra mile. More is a year's free breakdown cover for new car insurance customers. We love more. That's why we do more. Call 0800 300 800 for a quote or visit us at morethan.com.
At ECK, the scientists are conducting undercover research to see how the guinea pigs are coping with their modern, busy lifestyles.
Nowadays, I'm too busy to think about credit cards. I just want a card I can stick with.
So they listened to the guinea pigs and gave them an ECK card with 0% on balance transfers and purchases. And then another 0% on balance transfers every year until 2009. So they can stick with one credit card and get on with life. Get a card worth sticking with at ECK.com.
If you hit me at 40 miles an hour, there's around an 80% chance I'll die. Hit me at 30 and there's around an 80% chance I'll live.
So, what do you think?
Don't take this wrong, but it doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Right.
Yeah, I find it dark and disturbing.
I mean, it's neither cuddly nor waddly.
Okay. Binky, any thoughts?
It just made me wet my pants.
Perfect. The all-new Dodge Caliber. It's anything but cute.
We've extended the 25% off our sale prices on all kitchen units, selected bath suites and furniture. But hurry, the extra sale on our sale must end Friday. Home Base.
When you come home from school, what jobs do you have to do?
Make their tea, get the washing up the dryer, and make the bottles, do boys' nappy, make them all go to sleep at night.
Imagine if your childhood involved helping two blind parents and being mum and dad to your 4 younger brothers too. Age 12 and looking after the family. Monday at 9 on 4.
We're ready. Juice, let's go, boys. Focus. It's our time.
The ATF had launched one of the biggest raids in its history. More than 70 agents were on their way to arrest David Koresh, the heavily armed leader of the Branch Davidians.
Stick to the plan. We're good. We're ready. We can do this. Let's bring it home. All good.
But the Davidians had been tipped off. They knew they were on their way.
Tell all the women and children to get in their rooms and stay there. Get to your room! Get to your room!
Come on, come on. Hurry up. Get on the bed. Just get on the bed.
Get on the bed!
I remember going up into the room and taking care of the children. I put them down on the floor. My handicapped child was over in front of the window.
Come on. Under. Go.
I looked out the window and saw the cattle cars coming down the road. Now there's people jumping out of these cattle cars. And they have guns. And they're all dressed in black. And they're running towards the building.
Go, 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 go!
I could hear David and maybe one or two others that went with him walk down the hall toward the front door. I heard him open the front door, and the next thing he made a step. Hey, wait a minute, you know, there's women and children here. And all hell broke loose.
It has never been established who fired the first shot. But nothing prepared the ATF for the hail of gunfire they now faced.
All right, boys, got those down.
Concealed in a cattle truck, Bill Buford readied his team for action.
I heard AK-47s. I heard what sounded like an M60 machine gun being fired, and we had no automatic weapons. And at that point, I knew we were in big trouble. But there was no place to go. We had to just carry out the mission.
Okay, we're live. Lock and load. Go!
The ATF plan called on Bill Buford's unit to take out Koresh's armory on the first floor.
Conway LeBleu, who was on my team, was killed almost immediately. There was so much gunfire going on outside, I thought maybe there wouldn't be as much on the inside. I was wrong. There was a curtain in the way, and I remember thinking, where did that damn curtain come from? Because I couldn't see into the room. Put in the flashbang and then stepped into the yarn truck. Gunfire inside the room was very intense. Glenn had fallen as we went through the window, and he was already laying in a pool of blood there just within seconds. We started receiving gunfire not only through the walls but through the floor. We did return fire through the walls because that's the only thing we could do.
Within minutes, the ATF plan, which had depended on surprise, was in ruins. Their flight was captured by a local TV news crew. 3 ATF helicopters that were meant to act as a diversion arrived late. They immediately came under fire and were forced to land. Pinned down by Davidian gunfire, the ATF agents blindly fired back into the building. Inside were 124 Davidians, including 43 children.
Everyone was screaming, the glasses shattering, things flying everywhere in the room.
Get down! All this gunfights going on. I actually ran down the corridor and dived into one of the rooms and kept my head down there all the time, and I could hear gunshots firing, you know, people crying out as if they'd been hit.
Sheila Martin and 3 of her children were on the first floor of the building.
Get under the bed. Okay, just get out! Okay, it's okay, it's okay! Hey!
The little boy that was over in front of the window, my handicapped child, as I turned to get to him, all these shots came in the window.
I got you,
I'm saying, this is how he leaves us, this is how he dies.
Hey, okay, Jamie! Come on, Natalie! Someone's coming, okay?
Grabbed a hold of one of his elbows, and all the bullets started coming again.
It's okay! It's all right! It's okay, kid! You're okay.
He had blood around his face, so near his mouth and by his eye, and the other children were laying on the floor, and they were saying, well, what's wrong? What's happening? Why are the bad men here?
As I'm going down the hall, people are screaming at me, get down, there's bullets coming through the wall. And I'm going, yeah, I can see that, you know. But it was kind of weird It's like you're walking in a haze or in a dream. You know the danger, but it's not like you're cowering or crawling, trying to avoid being... From what I remember, I was walking straight, upright.
With his wife Sheila and their children trapped by heavy gunfire upstairs, Davidian Wayne Martin called 911 just 1 minute into the gun battle.
Children here, you gotta call it off. You gotta call it off now. You gotta pull back. Yes.
Wayne was asking for a ceasefire. Of course, that's what I wanted, and I wanted Wayne to lay his weapons down so that this ceasefire could get started.
Talk to me, Wayne.
Yeah, hello.
Let's get this thing resolved, Wayne. Who was that firing? All right, I'm trying to make contact with the forces now. Stand by. Hold on just a minute, Wayne. Call DPS.
Deputy Sheriff Lynch tried in vain to relay Wayne Martin's request for a ceasefire to the ATF forces.
Nobody's responding to the damn radio. Got one man hurt inside here. I'm talking with Wayne now. He's inside. They're wanting everybody to back off and talk. I'm trying to get what radio frequency. They told me the radio van. We're not getting a response.
I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea why I was not able to establish that contact.
Radio contact could not be established with the ATF as their communication officer had switched off his radio. Pinned down by heavy gunfire inside Mount Carmel for 8 minutes, ATF agents Bill Buford and Glenn Jordan were also desperate for a ceasefire.
Got shot in the butt. I was hit twice more, once in the upper thigh and once in the hip. And I remember thinking to myself while I was laying on the floor and they were trying to get up, if I'm going to die, it's not going to be in this room. I'm going to be out of here and I'm going to die with my friends. I'm not going to have one of them walk up and shoot me in the head.
After more than 30 minutes of desperate attempts to reach the ATF, Sheriff Lynch finally made contact. But as he tried to broker a ceasefire with Wayne Martin, suddenly another voice came on the line.
Yeah, this Lynch.
Hey, Lynch?
Yeah.
That's kind of a funny name there. Oh, listen, look.
Now, who am I speaking with?
This is David Koresh.
Okay, David.
The notorious.
You're the man that I need to talk to, David.
Yeah, well, really, let me tell you something.
Okay.
In our great country here in the United States, God's given us a rich history of patronage. No, we're not trying to be bad guys.
Okay.
But the thing of it is this. I know it sounds crazy to you, but you're going to find out sooner or later.
Sure,
there are 7 seals in his right hand.
All right.
The question of theology has overstepped. You really wouldn't open that book. Now, that's what I've done.
Okay.
Now, there's some things in that Bible that have been held as mysteries.
Yes, sir.
About Christ.
Yes, sir.
Now, what it says in Revelation 22...
I was amazed at Koresh's ability to carry on a theological discussion in the middle of a gun battle.
Okay.
Now, in the prophecies, it says...
Can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
All right. We can talk theology, but right now...
This is life. This is life and death. The theology is life and death.
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
You have come and stepped on my perimeter, okay?
Koresh's theological discussion lasted several minutes. Finally, the sheriff brokered a ceasefire, more than 90 minutes after the battle had begun. The ATF retreated.
Right here, right here. Right here.
day that had begun with the mission to arrest one man, David Koresh, had ended with the ATF suffering its largest casualty toll in a single operation. 4 of its agents were dead and 22 seriously wounded.
Have been allowed onto the compound, and apparently some of the injured are now leaving the scene. 2 care flag
automatic weapons inside. There are automatic weapons outside. It's a very ugly situation.
On how many people have been injured.
I remember being on the hood of the car, not having a clue where we were going, what kind of vehicle I was on. It was a feeling of disbelief, I think, more than anything. We didn't realize that we could fail so badly.
I just remember being overwhelmed by the number of people that were walking away from the building. It was pretty unfathomable seeing 40, 50 people walking away and peppering the hill as they're walking away. And I just remember seeing the looks on some of their faces.
We didn't really realize that a group here in the United States would put up that kind of resistance. If we had known what we were going to get into, I definitely would have liked to have had more firepower. If I'd have known what we were going to get into and it was a military operation, we'd have backed off and shot the place up, but you can't do that in a police operation.
Get out of here! Get that shit out of here! Move! Go! Get the fuck out of here!
We were expecting, when we saw them leaving that first day, we're really in for it now. They're going to come back tonight and kill us all, sort of thing, just to get revenge.
Five hours after the ceasefire, Catherine Schroeder's husband Michael, who had been working away from Mount Carmel, attempted to get back to his wife and family in the compound.
Mike was doing his best to get past all these people that I know just shot a whole bunch of bullets into our building and killed some of our people. And he was going to try to get past them and get in.
At 4:55, Michael Schroeder, armed with a Glock 9mm pistol, was spotted by ATF snipers 1 mile from the compound. According to the ATF, they ordered Schroeder to surrender, but instead he opened fire. He was shot 6 times by the ATF, twice to the head. His body was left where it fell for 3 days.
I miss Mike. I miss Mike as a person. But I think being sad for his mother, having to lose a son that was only 29 in such a horrific way, when she didn't believe what we believed, she didn't believe we should be there. She half blames David Koresh because Mike was in a cult, and she half blames the government because they flat out murdered him. And she's just torn. There's nothing you can do. We had our minds set to follow God, and we did that. Whether you think we did that or not, we believe we did that. I still to this day believe we did that.
The disastrous ATF raid was over. 10 people were dead. No one knew it at the time, but the longest siege in modern American history had only just begun.
Pain when moving? Voltarol Amyl Gel P has a silky texture that penetrates deep. Its double action treats the pain and inflammation and so helps you get back into action. Voltarol, the joy of movement.
They say the best things in life are free. I think they mean birdsong, rainbows, and stuff.
Thanks.
But sometimes it's the free things in life that are best.
It's nice to get something for nothing, so BT are offering free UK evening and weekend calls for a year. Call 0800 200 700.
This is the story of our best ever new catalogue, filled with some of our lowest ever prices. Like this Service 1600 spin washing machine for under £220. And save £150 on this 32-inch HD-ready LCD TV, now under £400. Don't shop for it, Argos it.
There's pain, and there's Pain Plus. Nurofen Plus has the targeted relief of Nurofen tablets, plus the added strength of a second painkiller to fight pain and bring you fast, powerful relief. Nurofen Plus, no stronger painkiller without prescription.
你会遇到一个陌生人，你们将会一起旅游，做不可思议的事情。 或许你喜好平静的生活。
The all-new award-winning Freelander 2, ready when you are.
For all of you out there doing your bit to stay healthy, at last there's a health insurance company who'll do their bit. Pru Health could give you up to 30% off your premium, and that's just for starters. Pru Health. It pays to be healthy.
People of Britain, continue to
challenge Churchill.
Yes, challenge Churchill to give you a better car insurance deal.
Okay, if I have an accident, can you arrange all the repairs?
Oh, yes.
And can you take the car to be repaired?
Oh, yes.
And can you even pay towards a hotel room if I'm stranded?
Oh, yes. Oh, steady, madam. Come on, keep challenging Churchill. If you haven't claimed for 3 years, we still guarantee to beat the renewal price for your car insurance.
MoneySupermarket.com compares over 8,000 mortgages, masses of loans, and thousands of motor insurance quotes from direct insurers, brokers, and supermarkets.
Actually, that's why we're here. We need cover for our Mini.
And we want fully comp.
Whatever you're looking for, MoneySupermarket.com compares the market in seconds, making it easy for you to choose the best deal. MoneySupermarket.com, the price comparison site.
What has this man done to get his passport seized, have day and night curfews imposed on him, be denied access to the phone or internet? What has he done to be placed under partial house arrest and to have had no trial? Dispatches investigates At Home with the Terror Suspects, Monday at 8 on 4.
A raid by the ATF in Waco, Texas, had gone disastrously wrong. 4 law enforcement agents were dead, 22 were wounded, many fighting for their lives. Over 100 ATF and Texas Rangers surrounded the compound of the religious group known as the Branch Davidians. What had started out as an operation to arrest one man, David Koresh, had now turned into a standoff, and no one knew how to end it.
They will be bringing some of the children out. However, we have not been able to confirm any of that either. The leader, 33 years old, a 9th grade education. His followers believe that he is the second coming of Jesus Christ. So it is believable that these people may stand by him through thick and thin and would not leave tonight, even if they were given the opportunity to leave the compound.
Inside the compound, the Davidians were also counting the cost. 6 of their members including one follower from England, were dead, and 3 more lay injured, including their leader, David Koresh.
David was so bad at that time, he thought he was going to die. And the word went around, you know, he's probably not going to make it through the night.
Koresh had been shot twice. One bullet had hit his wrist, the other had struck his abdomen and fractured his hip bone. With the Davidian leader critically injured, the ATF feared that his followers might do something drastic. At 10 p.m. on the first night of the siege, ATF negotiators managed to establish phone contact with David Koresh.
We have come up against you, the big guy. The little guy has come up and pushed at you.
We told you, you're not going to come over here and push your ATF butt around.
We're Americans too.
Right. I understand that.
Bothered no one. We serve and believe in God.
Will you be straight with me?
I'm straight.
Are you going to commit suicide?
I am not going to commit suicide. Jim, I am not a cult leader. I am a Bible teacher, okay? Nobody is ever committed to do what I ask or do what I say. People do what they want to do, okay? And I want time to just, you know, just sit here and let these wounds take their effect and let me die.
119 Davidians were still inside the compound with Koresh, including 43 children.
At 9:30 this morning in Mount Carmel on the compound of the Branch Davidians, a breakaway sect from the Seventh-day Adventist Association.
For some perspective and more perspective, we go now to Barry Ray. Barry?
Lori, I've visited with the Mount Carmel Center on several occasions over the years. This group's entire existence is based on a sort of apocalypse. Law enforcement officials are just hoping that the group doesn't try to bring about its own apocalypse now.
All right, thank you very much, Barry Ray. There were other things happening in the world today, and when we come back...
Whilst the children watched the day's events on the nightly news, upstairs, their parents and the other Davidians gathered around their injured leader.
Kathy, my rebellious one. Come here.
To the Davidians, the gun battle that morning with the ATF had enormous significance, with far more at stake than just the arrest of their spiritual leader. At the core of their faith lay the belief that the world would end, and that only they, as God's chosen people, would survive. Koresh had predicted that the end would come within their lifetime. He based his prophecy on a section of the book of Revelation, known as the 7 Seals.
Now I want y'all to understand what's going on here. It's all happening like I said. As foretold in the scriptures. The forces of Babylon have attacked, and our loved ones have been sacrificed, why I may be sacrificed in this holy battle. Maybe you're thinking, why is this happening? It's because 7 seals are being opened one by one.
The 7 Seals predict a series of apocalyptic events leading to the end of the world. Davidians believe the mysterious prophecies were given to Christ to reveal to mankind. Koresh believed himself to be the second coming of Christ. He declared that the ATF raid was an enactment of one of the seals and would soon be followed by the 7th seal and the end of the world.
The battle on February 28th was definitely a religious battle. It may not have been, in the eyes of 99.9 and 100% the rest of the American public, but in the minds of those few at Mount Carmel, it was definitely a religious battle.
Most Christians, all they can remember is turn the other cheek, you know. There's a time for that. There will be a time, according to the scriptures and the prophecies, when that turn the other cheek time will be over, and God's people will fight.
For years, Koresh had preached that the US government was a force of evil that must be resisted. He believed that time had now come.
If you want to go to heaven, you got to be able to die. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. Come on. It's one thing to say, I'll die for God. It's another thing to do it with guns in your life and the knowledge that that could be the way you will die for God.
You sure?
As dawn broke on day 2 of the siege, the world's media descended on Waco. What started the day before as a secret operation had now become a very public news event.
There was supposed to be a news conference that started.
The US government was quick to act. President Clinton approved a waiting strategy. And after the murder of federal agents, the FBI now took control of the operation.
My name is Jeff Jarmer. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI in the San Antonio division, and I'm the special agent in charge of FBI operations here in Waco.
Can you tell us, in talking with Koresh, have you any indication how many people in the compound are dead, how many are wounded, what their condition is?
The people we're talking to say 3 people wounded, to include Koresh. The extent of wounds, we don't know. The extent of his wounds, we don't know.
Here's the problem, okay? You start out, the phrase I use, we came in the middle of the movie. We arrive. We're negotiating or trying to communicate with someone who's facing the death penalty. And he knows it. Okay? So it turned out he's got absolute control over everybody in there except a few people who he gets rid of. Okay? We already know that. So I know from the outset that he decides what happens.
Jarmer was given almost unlimited resources to end the siege. Over 300 agents were placed under his control. Sniper units were placed around the compound, and they established a headquarters 8 miles away in a local college. With 25 hostage negotiators drafted in, the lead negotiator was Byron Sage.
What do you think? What's his hold of him? Are they brainwashed?
You know what I think? These people truly believe. I really think that. They worship Koresh.
With Koresh weakened by his injuries, the FBI team opened up negotiations with his deputy, Steve Schneider, a former Seventh-day Adventist minister who had left his church to join David Koresh 7 years earlier.
They're taking their time.
Steve Schneider was a very interesting character. He was a very articulate, intelligent individual. Seemed to be somewhat anxious about a position that he expressed that he had been thrust into.
Sage and his team decided that the best way to end the siege peacefully was to appeal to Koresh's ego. They made him an offer they believed he would be unable to refuse.
Yeah, Steve Schneider, who's this?
Steve, it's Jim. I want to give you something to think about, okay? If I was able to get some type of major broadcast together to get your word out, would David come out?
I don't know. That's up to David. I do know that David wants the world to hear his message. The world needs to hear what he has to say.
The FBI offer presented Koresh with an opportunity to speak to the nation. He would be able to record a message that would then be played on national radio. In return, he and his followers would surrender. The FBI plan worked. Koresh accepted their terms and requested a tape recorder. At 4:30 a.m. on day 3, he began recording his message.
What I'm trying to present here may, in some ways, shed a better light on the situation and my predicament here in Mount Carmel. But I'm also really concerned about the lives of all those.
Within just a few hours of taking control, the FBI had achieved a major breakthrough. Koresh promised that as soon as his message had been broadcast, he and his followers would surrender in front of the world's media. At 1:30 p.m., America's Christian Radio Network broadcast his message.
Okay, here we go. We're going to the tape of David Koresh.
My name is Dave Koresh. I'm sure that a lot of you realize that I should be possibly scared, concerned. There's women, children, and men involved in our situation here at Mount Carmel. But I am really concerned about the lives of my brethren here, and also really concerned even greater about the lives of all those in this world. You know, without Christ, without Jesus, we have no hope. Why?
Everybody was glued to the radio.
Righteousness is a law of 10 Commandments.
As the sermon is being read, we're on the phone from the negotiation cell, speaking primarily to Steve Schneider. And Steve is describing what's going on inside the Branch Davidian building. The children are being assembled by the front door.
I went down to the cafeteria and fixed a sack lunch for my daughter and I, thinking, well, they're all going to come out. They want to search the building. So we'll go out and sit on the lawn until they're finished, and then we'll come back in, but we might get hungry while we're out there.
Although Israelites themselves never really knew the real meaning of this, nonetheless, they were commanded to do it. Also, there were other sacrifices.
We were convinced that this was going to truly be the end to this situation, and that we were finally going to be able to get these people to come out peacefully.
I, David Koresh, agree upon the broadcasting of this tape to come out peacefully with all the people immediately.
As Koresh's sermon ended, TV networks across America broke into their normal coverage to go live to Waco to capture the moment of surrender.
This is a News Channel 10 special report.
Okay, I just talked to David. He's been going through a lot of anguish.
Okay.
It's something hard for me to describe what the guy just went through.
I've never seen anything like it before. In fact, everything's ready to go right now, but all of a sudden,
he started praying.
Okay.
And so everybody, and this is the honest truth, everybody here's quiet. They're just waiting.
But now look, he gave us his word, okay? We put our trust in you.
He says, his God says that
he is to wait, because that which was played on the air is given for everyone to hear.
God, who's led him all his life, says to him to wait.
But Steve, they don't believe he's coming out. And in the next 15 minutes, they're going back to their normal programming because
I understand that.
Got the whole thing interrupted.
I understand that.
They'll think he's a fraud if he doesn't come out. Steve? Steve?
Even though David Koresh had gone back on his word, his followers accepted the decision.
We understood that David believed that God wanted it to be the right time. When he said, God said to wait, then we trusted it. We believed that it was going to be all right, that God was saying, wait.
We had faith in God. We were safe in God's hands, you know. We had faith. We believed in God's word. I mean, that's why we hung in there with him, you know.
It was now the turn of the FBI to explain their failure.
The negotiation team undertook efforts to convince Koresh to fulfill his promise and to surrender immediately. Koresh refused to honor his promise and has indicated he will keep his promise to come out when he receives further instruction from God.
Can you say what God said to him? Can you give a little more details exactly? After 1:30, you're waiting for him, you finally make contact. What does he say?
He says that he did not fulfill his promise to leave immediately with his followers because God told him to wait.
As FBI Chief Jeff Jarmer faced the press, Koresh contacted the negotiating team.
Let me tell you something. When I'm ready to cry into my God,
You are going to stand before a furious God who's going to judge you from the time you're conceived. They say I lied to you? No, I did not lie to you.
you will learn that I also have a chief of command too.
And if there's a God in heaven, you're going to learn that the hard way.
I knew that they weren't hostages. Koresh decided what they were going to do, what they were going to say. You know that he's going to decide. Not them, not you. He's going to decide whether they live or die.
After 3 days, the negotiation strategy had failed. The FBI commanders decided it was now time to increase the pressure. They requested military equipment from the US Army. 9 tanks and 5 combat vehicles were deployed to Mount Carmel. From now on, the FBI's tactics would get tougher.
Meet the old Yakults. They haven't changed much in 71.5 years. But then neither has how our bodies function. Our founder, the scientist Dr. Shirota, developed his friendly bacteria to help maintain a healthy gut. And a healthy gut makes for stronger natural defenses. That's why our bacteria is still the most important thing that goes into a Yakult. And always will be.
Make it yourself with the 92-page guide to craft. Free this Saturday in The Guardian.
OK, honchos, our new bank customer call centre. Where? Or as they say in Espanol, donde?
Spain.
It's a bit obvious, Steve.
Portugal?
Come on, guys, spread your wings.
All right, Morocco.
No, sandflies. Ugh.
Great Barrier Reef.
Box jellyfish.
Yeah.
Excuse me, why can't we just talk to our customers in the UK? That's where they live.
The UK.
The UK.
There is another way. At NatWest, you can talk to a call centre in the UK 24/7 or call your local branch direct. NatWest, another way.
I know. Delhi.
It's not very central, is it? It is central in India, Will.
Will.
Hi.
Hi.
A top brand is Toshiba Equum A100-337. It's got Intel Centrino Duo mobile technology with an Intel Core Duo processor that enables you to run several demanding applications at the same time.
Wow.
Vista is included. Your laptop will be more secure, easier to use, and more fun.
How much extra?
Nothing. It's installed and ready to go with dual-core technology for just $499.
And it's a Toshiba.
Exactly.
I'll have one.
Internet prices to take home today. PC World. The best of both worlds.
Still looking for cheaper car insurance? Haven't you heard? Hastings Direct has been named as the cheapest car insurance provider for 2006. 0800 00 1066. 4 out of 5 people could save on their car insurance by calling Hastings Direct. Why not see how much you could save? They insure motorcycles too. Don't pay too much for your insurance. Call Hastings Direct now. 0800 00 1066.
Introducing Aldi's new Be-Lite range. It's lighter on salt, lighter on sugar, and lighter on fat. But don't worry, at these prices, you'll still have a full fat wallet. Aldi. Spend a little, live a lot.
Chrysler 300C and 300C Touring from $26,250.
Ladies and gentlemen. The thing about writing a best man speech, get it right, you're a hero. Get it wrong, you're a dead man. There must be websites that you can rip witty anecdotes from.
Only BT Total Broadband includes Wi-Fi minutes, which give you wireless access when you're out, as well as at home. So you can now take your broadband with you.
But apparently you can hear them in Nairobi! Look at his face!
Get a more complete broadband experience from $9.95 a month for the first 6 months.
Day 4 of the siege. 24 hours after Koresh's very public failure to surrender, the FBI had surrounded the compound with tanks. Within the ranks of the FBI, not everyone was happy with the decision, especially lead negotiator Byron Sage.
I can remember thinking to myself, how in the world did we get to a position where we have tanks driving around a church in the high plains of Texas? How could that possibly happen in the United States of America? Because what you're ultimately going to do is drive them closer together. You're not going to drive them out, you're going to drive them in.
Inside the compound, the besieged Davidians had found new strength. 4 days after receiving 2 serious bullet wounds, their leader, David Koresh, appeared to be making a miraculous recovery.
There was a determination in David's mind that he wasn't going to die. There was some other purpose that he was there for that he didn't know yet. He taught us the 7 seals. Straight from the book, from the beginning of the book to the end, we understood. I know, in my belief system, that David was a manifestation of God on this planet. He was my God.
It was now clear to the FBI that the Davidians were under the total control of Koresh and would not surrender without his agreement. However, there was hope. Over the course of the first 3 days, the FBI had been negotiating the release of a number of children.
Yeah. And that's at the back, I think.
When David Koresh said that he had been negotiating the release of children, I was relieved that my children would get to leave.
You understand how important it is for me to stay here with David, don't you? Yeah. David wants me to stay. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Catherine Schroeder permitted her 4 children to leave, but she stayed behind.
And it looks like a child. It looks like a child in the back of that van. There you go.
15 other children were released. They all left without their parents. Natalie Norbrega from London left on her 11th birthday.
My mum broke me up. She said, "Oh, you're going to go and see your dad now." And I was like, okay. I thought that she was coming with me. That's what I automatically thought, oh, she's just, we're all getting ready to leave. And she's like, oh, I can't come out at the moment, but I'll see you. I'll see you when I come out, sort of thing. And obviously she was crying. I was like, oh, why are you crying? You know, I'm going to see you. She was like, yeah, I'm just upset, you know, I'm not going to see you for a couple of days.
But 98 people still remained inside Mount Carmel. Apart from Koresh and Schneider, the FBI knew very little about the people left inside. Then, on day 9, there was a major breakthrough. The Davidians sent out a videotape. They'd recorded messages for their families to prove that they were not hostages and that they remained there of their own free will. On the tape were 7 members of the Henry family from Manchester.
Mr. Koresh has been the most intelligent person I've ever met. He's nothing like what the media purports him to be.
Natalie Norbrega's mother, Teresa Norbrega, was also on the video.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was seeking truth about the Bible. And then when I met David Koresh, he's answered all my questions. And there's no doubt about the truth.
And Derek Lovelock had a message for his family back home in Manchester.
Say to family, friends, or anything?
I'd just like to say hello to my family back in England, not to worry, in the safest hands I could ever be in. And to tell them that this is the end time now, prophecies are being fulfilled as it's written in the Revelation.
As the Davidians revealed themselves, it was clear that they were determined to remain inside with their leader, David Koresh.
This is not the end of time. I don't know when.
Is anyone holding you against your will? Do you want to leave? What is your desire?
Nobody's holding my wills or anybody. I came and I went as I pleased, and I've decided to stay as I please. My family know where I am. They know I'm independent.
Along with the family messages, to the FBI's amazement, the tape contained a special message for them.
This is David Koresh. David, anything you'd like to say?
First of all, I'd like to thank the negotiators that we've been discussing with on the phone. We're finishing up on a very...
For the first time, the FBI came face to face with their nemesis, David Koresh.
I'd like to share with you some of my family, seeing that, of course, obviously everyone in the world knows something about it. And we just thought we'd kind of break the ice and...
He then introduced them to his children, all 14 of them.
When David brought in, one by one, 2 at a time, ultimately the vast majority of the children that he had sired, it was spellbinding.
What am I doing? What am I doing with all these children? You know, what's really going on here? Well, you know, God is God, and this nation is supposed to honor and serve God. It says in God we trust on our currency. And these children that I have are for a reason. And unless we really have the ear and the eyes to open ourselves up to be able to read, really read the scriptures, and understand the prophecies in a lot of the 7 seals, the explanation would seem almost foolish.
Koresh had told his followers that God had instructed him to take multiple wives and father an army of special children, which he called the House of David.
You don't know why. You can always end up misjudging a man if you don't know the reasons why. Okay, you want to say something? You want to sing?
David believed that God was telling him to produce children by certain women, and David taught that these children were special, that they would be part of the judgment.
Koresh had gone further. He ordered all married couples to end their marriages and proclaimed that only he could have sexual relations with the women at Mount Carmel.
My name is Kathy Schroeder. I'm originally from Florida.
Okay, you're from...
I did have a sexual relationship with David Koresh, and sexually it wasn't bad. But I'm listening the whole time for the words that's going to come out of his mouth. So there's no way that David Koresh, sex with David Koresh could be anything but a religious experience. I would have been extremely honored to have given birth to a child of David Koresh, because that was my God.
But not all the mothers of his children were adults. He had also fathered babies with girls who were under the age of 16.
David said God was telling him what to do, even if it was contrary to his own desires or likes and dislikes and so on. If you go according to the norm, David probably had relations with children that we would, or girls that were younger than what we would, consider acceptable age. On the other hand, if those children knew what they were getting into and were advanced for their years or whatever, who's to say it was not acceptable?
His voice shook the earth. Now he has promised. Once more, I will shake not only the earth, but its lands.
10 days into the siege, and every move the FBI made was now under the scrutiny of the world's press.
There seems to be no indication tonight that Davidic cult leader David Koresh is planning to give up any time soon.
The 24-hour-a-day media coverage was putting the FBI under increasing pressure to bring the siege to an end. The FBI negotiation team watched and re-watched the videotape and discovered something they believed they could exploit.
And we will put her on. And what is your name?
My name is Judy Schneider Koresh. This is my daughter, Mina. And,
Judy Schneider, the wife of Koresh's deputy, Steve Schneider, had become one of Koresh's sexual partners and had given birth to one of the special children.
our government act the way it did.
What's amazing is the person behind the camera filming this entire episode is Steve Schneider. That is his wife and the child that the two of them were never able to conceive. We decided to see if we couldn't possibly drive a wedge between Steve Schneider and David Koresh.
Hi, Steve. They got a picture over here that shows you with Judy. She's a very attractive lady.
This is true. She is.
Miss her?
Pardon?
Do you miss her?
Well, she's right here.
You have to share her with him?
Not at all.
Are any of those babies in there Judy's and David's?
There are babies here that are David's. The majority of all these here that we've shown are his.
Yeah. Does Judy have one by him?
Judy has a baby.
By him?
Explain yourself.
We're talking about men and wives here, relationships.
You've heard
sensational rumors. You've heard things that are totally, completely out of context.
You know, it's difficult for me to believe after looking at this picture that you're in the situation now that you're in, Steve.
Steve? Steve? Steve?
The negotiators could not turn Schneider against his leader. The tactic had failed. Yet again, they had underestimated the power of Koresh over his followers.
How do you possibly process the reality of your respect for David Koresh as a prophet, but at the same time, this religious man is also going to bed with your wife? I think, frankly, that we underestimated the full extent of that deception and that control by David Koresh.
With negotiations failing yet again, the FBI commanders decided it was time to increase the pressure and force the Davidians out.
With 0% finance over 4 years, the new Scenic's always ready for the next big thing.
You'll find up to an extra 50% off many sale prices. House of Fraser sale ends Sunday.
You just call out my name. I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there somewhere. You got a friend.
For only £26 per month, you can now get Sky TV, Sky Talk and Sky Broadband. Sky, join in.
This is the story of our best ever new catalogue. Save £300 on this leather three-piece suite, all for under £600. Don't shop for it, Argos it.
Rock and roll!
Get in.
Who are they?
Oh, I'm just sorting out my car insurance. Hey? I call the AA team. They search over 20 insurance companies to find me their best quote.
Right, that's 40% less, with a full money-back guarantee if you find a cheaper quote.
That's nice, man. That's very nice, man. That's very, very nice, man.
To find out if you could save up to 40%, call the AA team. Here to get you a better deal.
There's no need to be superstitious when you have Hiscox home insurance. Nearly half the claims we pay would not have been covered by a standard insurance policy. Hiscox, extraordinary cover.
Jamie's getting closer to choosing his chef.
It all does come down today.
But can the remaining trainees handle the pressure?
I probably would have to step down.
And who's going to make the pitch that changes the rest of their lives?
If they've done really well so far and they have a pitch, they're not going to get it.
Jamie's Chef continues Wednesday at 9 on 4.
You're watching KWTX Television, News Channel 10, 4 Central Texas.
The events in Waco, Texas, had now gripped TV audiences around the world for 10 days.
Maybe lying about the weaponry he has inside. And earlier today, the lighter...
95 Branch Davidians, including 21 children and 41 women, still remained inside Mount Carmel.
Many people know that David Koresh and members of the Branch Davidians still insist they are peaceful, God-fearing people.
American public opinion was divided as to how to end the siege.
Why don't they come out?
Why wouldn't you come out if you were attacked in your home?
In their home.
This is their home. This is a church.
It's a church, yeah, with weapons, rockets. Do you call that church? Yeah. A church is peace. God is peace. God is love.
The FBI were looking increasingly helpless, no nearer to bringing the siege to an end.
What we're saying is Mr. Koresh, we're here. We're knocking on your door. We're offering you a peaceful solution. Please respond.
With the continuing failure to bring an end to the siege by negotiation, the FBI commanders were relying on an increasingly aggressive strategy. The change in tactics was creating a bitter rift within the FBI. Two factions developed, those in favor of negotiation and those who promoted an increased use of force.
When you're dealing with a group like the Branch Davidians, to intimidate them with military hardware and so forth for the sake of intimidation is a mistake. Did it adversely impact on the negotiations? The answer is yes, it did.
What is this gonna be? World War III or something? Well, who's controlling these guys? Are they their own nation?
Calm down.
If you just back off a little. These kind of tactics, they've shown us their asses. They've flipped us the finger. These things that they're doing make these people want to stay here even more. You got to get these tanks out of here, and you got to get them out of here now.
Over the course of the siege, the negotiators would say, we won't move the tanks onto the property. The next day, there's a tank taking out sheds on the outskirts of the property, creating this incredible disharmony and distrust with the people on the inside.
Catch you later, Steve.
We were sending a conflicting signal. And what it did is it undercut the ability of the negotiation team to continue to build rapport, let alone credibility, with those inside. It became patently obvious that we, the negotiators, had no control over what was going on actually at the site.
That control was in the hands of the commanders.
To say that they stayed in there because they were intimidated by an armored vehicle circling the place, to me, is nonsense. If that's intimidating them, fine. Are they cowering in the corner that Babylon's here and all that? No. They're doing whatever Koresh tells them to do.
On day 13, the FBI increased the pressure further.
Federal agents bring in the heavy armor.
As the FBI decides this local David Koresh is looking for a fight. At a news conference this morning, FBI...
As the nighttime temperature dropped to -4 degrees, they permanently cut off all power to Mount Carmel.
Sister Power. Okay, honey. That's better. That's better. Don't you be scared, honey. Don't be scared.
We used Coleman lanterns for lighting, but as far as the cold, you just put more clothes on, crawled into your sleeping bag, and hope for the best. I mean, aside from the temperature outside, you got the windows all shut up. The wind's blowing through, and it was pretty chilly.
Think that we were depriving them of basic human needs. We weren't, because they had been deprived of that since they'd been there. You know, they didn't have central heat. You're not depriving them of anything. How you deprive the deprived.
The Davidians responded by cutting off communications with the negotiators. An end to the siege now seemed further away than ever. In an attempt to try and rebuild trust, Byron Sage decided on a bold and dangerous new initiative.
We needed to do something extraordinary. I used to teach you never go face to face with an individual that has demonstrated a propensity for violence. I don't teach that anymore.
Sage persuaded Koresh's deputy Steve Schneider and senior Davidian Wayne Martin to meet him face to face. Accompanied by a local sheriff, they met in the no-man's land between the tanks and the compound.
I can vividly remember just almost feeling the crosshairs on you from their sniper positions.
Thank you for being here. The only reason we're here is to try to work out a mutually agreeable plan where we can bring all of you out safe, sound, without any hazard, any danger, any damage, any wounding coming to anyone else.
We identified a number of issues that Steve conveyed that he felt were critical to getting this thing resolved. Things like whether or not David could continue his ministry from jail. The big one for them was whether or not the government was going to seize their property.
Sage was able to secure the assurances that Schneider required. Koresh could continue preaching from jail, and the Davidians would be allowed to stay at Mount Carmel.
I'm assuring you that the FBI still stands